Alright guys, so this is the patch notes. I'm just gonna go over them, just talk about each of the things, and I'm gonna talk about what's coming next and give an idea of when the next patch is coming. It won't be too long. But alright, so let me get started. There was a lot of stuff that needed to get fixed in this patch. It's actually kind of amusing like how many things are on this because I swear to God I didn't really have that many things to fix, but watching people play turns up a lot of stuff I wasn't ready for, that's for sure. Death Loot Case should no longer get stuck indoors anymore. That was a pretty bad problem, needed to be fixed. Death Loot Case will not appear if you dropped nothing on death. So this was really confusing for a lot of people. They would see like an empty Death Loot Case and they'd run up to it and it would disappear in front of them. That doesn't happen anymore because the loot case immediately checks to see, hey, if there's nothing in me right now, then just remove me from the scene so I don't like confuse people. Death loot spawn failsafe is now in place that prevents rare moments where loot can spawn at 000. I haven't seen this yet myself, but I've seen people report the bug. If I could figure out how to actually fix the bug or what causes it, maybe it's just some random thing. So for now, there's a failsafe in place where if it does happen, it'll just put your loot case at your feet, rather, where you respawn, rather than try to, rather than just leave it floating in at 000, which may not even be accessible because most of the maps, 000 isn't even within the actual playable space. So that's a band-aid fix for something that needs to get fixed. This I thought I had fixed it, but after playtesting, I still seem to see the problem. So the implementation that I did to fix this problem doesn't seem to actually be kicking in. So I removed it from the patch notes and the actual announcement. But I'm going to take another knock at this and make sure I get that right, actually fixed. Frame rate limit is set to 237 by default. That's pretty much for everybody. Nobody will notice unless they actually need to have their frame rate set to 237. Let me know if there's any problems with that. All random generation content has been removed from all missions below level 25. Now the reason why is like it doesn't really make as much sense. Like, I thought about it a lot, and it puts people off when they get into the random gen content, because it does create kind of samey, levels, but they didn't know that it was actually random gen. They just thought that I was, that it was just shitty level design. Oh, God. So, a lot of people, I've seen, like, people who would just sit down and play, and they'd be like, well, looks like this level designer or just gave up, or something like that. He's just reusing shit, but it was just random gen content that's placed in between handcrafted levels. Well, there's a lot of other things too. So one, it potentially could leave a bad taste in someone's mouth if that's the first thing they see, right? But it's also, but it also isn't really necessary early on either, because the first 25 levels of the game, like, you don't really need to have like repeated stuff. You don't need something to spice it up. People have never seen these levels before, so my thinking is that it actually makes a lot more sense to just front load all of the handcrafted stuff up to level 25, and then after level 25 I start bringing in the random gen stuff to kind of spice things up or make it a little bit different. In my opinion, the random gen content kind of gives the gameplay a chance to breathe. Whereas the handcrafted levels, I mean, people can disagree with me a lot on this, but I really do feel this way. I feel like when people are doing the handcrafted maps, I'm standing behind them watching them. It's this weird feeling of it's a little bit more tense, it's a lot more locked in. There's no variety, you know what I mean? Like it kind of it's I don't know. That's why I like the mix. I like the mixture. I feel that they complement each other. It's just maybe it's not a good idea to do it right away. But later in the game, you get a random gen map, and then you get a handcrafted map, You know what I mean? It kind of gives you like an opportunity for different situations. Maybe things get to be a little bit more interesting, kind of. You know what I mean? Like different things can happen. Not just sort of like breathing down your neck the entire time with nothing but handcrafted stuff. Basically, I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but I really do honestly feel like just handcrafted stuff all the time, especially after you've already done it once before and you're redoing it in hard and insane and revulsion difficulty. It makes sense at that point to have something that changes things a little bit, or is at least it provides different situations. You know what I mean? Anyway, there was a stuck spot in Soldier's Overlook that was addressed. Um, that was a crate that in the last video that I actually fixed. um, Pillars for Power Node battle on the final level, Ogrimgore's Lair, have been adjusted. Okay, so there's a couple of spots where there was like a clipping issue, like you can hide up on top of a bunch of pillars. So I just raised the pillars up to the ceiling, and it should make the fight more interesting. Whereas before, what I was basically watching, Sumo Wish just basically just hiding hiding on top of a pillar in dire hopes that like nothing will shoot him first, while he just sort of places turrets over and over again until eventually all of them get killed. It's whatever. Maybe he'll figure out something like something else that he could do similar, but that felt a little weird to me. Like there's a shortcut within the final level right before you do the Ogre's Lair thing. Um, there's a really big map and there was a shortcut, and I cut it out. It shouldn't even be available even if you have triple jump, although triple jump kind of does purposefully, let you break things a little bit so you don't necessarily have to do everything in the same order, or you can get into weird spots. That does happen fairly often even with just double jump. I don't mind it. It's kind of just part of the whole thing, but I felt that at this particular juncture, it was a little bit too over the top of a shortcut, because at that point in time, the game's trying to throw you through hell. It really is pretty hellishly hard. Demon Lord's totem in the bestiary now properly explains punch through as a weakness. So when you're fighting demon lords and they pop their totems on you, you can actually just you can shoot right through it with punch through. So any guns that you see that have punch through are fantastic to use against demon lords. It goes right through the totem, and it hits the demon lord on the inside. So just something to keep in mind. Having a weapon with punch through is pretty necessary if you want to make things a lot easier dealing with demon lords. There's plenty of weapons that can whittle a demon lord down very quickly, like he's just a regular monster. Whereas if you try to fight him toe to toe, they can be pretty hellishly nasty monsters if you try to fight them fair. So yeah, there's that. Power node battle called Demon Madness now properly lets you discover it. It's stated an exclamation point. Demon Madness is also another part of the final level here. Transmute Alchemy was not in the epic and legendary loot cases it needed to be, because it's what's used for crafting boosters and specials. Ogrimgore Bestiary rewards should now reflect the challenge of killing him. Yeah, you only get like a thousand credits. It's pretty hilarious, actually. That's fixed now. Death orbs have been toned down. So the sounds were a little too loud. Hopefully this is actually actually helped, because it might still be kind of annoying. It's so loud, but I reduced out how loud those sounds are and the bouncing sounds as well. Death orbs now consume 5 red mana instead of 1, and it doesn't have a magazine capacity, which doesn't really make sense anyway. Death orbs were way too good, and magical weapons are meant to consume your mana very quickly, so that you're forced to use something else, because mana regenerates over time. So mana ammo, red mana, works differently than regular ammo in that you always have ammo regen. So if you use magical weapons, you'll always have like a little side pool, but you'll eventually, but you'll burn through your ammo more quickly than you will with your other guns, and then you'll have to like switch to something else. That's supposed to work. Um, but death orbs were a little bit too efficient, so I had to nerf that. The obliterator now weighs the proper amount. Abomination has been added to the final boss chamber to allow farming for resources in a pinch. It's also just nice to have an extra abomination just to fight right, off to the side or something like that. But one of the things that I noticed when it comes to the very final big boss fight at the level 50 cap, is that it's very possible to be in a situation where like you might realize that maybe the guns that you're using aren't what you want in order to actually fight the boss. It's pretty different gameplay from the rest of the game because you're actually dealing with a boss fight. He's got tons of health, and it's just a really, really, really hard fight. You have to memorize everything and all that jazz. So there's an abomination which is pretty much guaranteed to drop a legendary loot case every time you kill him. If push comes to shove, you need to farm a little bit of resources. There's an abomination there. People can take it or leave it. Death marker should no longer appear as an exclamation point before sanctuary. That was a simple bug. It's fixed now. A death marker should always appear as a death marker and not as an undiscovered exclamation point on the auto map. Abomination now has a smaller capsule, allowing it to navigate tighter spaces. Hellbeast now has a smaller capsule, allowing it to navigate tighter spaces. He doesn't get his head stuck on some of those doorways anymore. He'll just run right through it. Music in random generation levels can now be affected by the music volume slider. I noticed this while I was watching one of the live streams. He wanted to put different song in the background, but when he was doing the random gen stuff, he turned the music slider all the way down, but the music in the random gen thing stayed on, and it was really annoying, and I feel bad about that. So I made sure that it's listed correctly so that the music volume slider will remove the ambience in the random generation stuff, so people who are streaming won't have to worry about music playing while they're trying to listen to different songs or just play something different in the background while they play and chill. Hellish Rocket Launcher base damage has been increased. Hellish Rocket Launcher's rate of fire has been slightly decreased. It hits a fucking lot harder than a regular rocket launcher. Minigun now uses rifle ammo instead of pistol ammo. This was a big one. Victor actually requested this one. So, but it's been mentioned multiple times before, so I decided I'm just going to go for it. The Hellish minigun was already using rifle ammo anyway, and, just going over the weapons that I've been seeing people play with, seeing submachine gun or a tri-fire pistol be pretty common. Allow somebody to round it out with a rifle, with a minigun that fires with rifle ammo. It just seems like a good idea to me. Abominations and Ogrimgore can no longer spawn with the fixes. Abominations and Ogrimgore are already legendary monsters by default. No matter how many of them you fight, they're always a legendary monster. So there's no point in having one spawn with 5 times the amount of health. If you run into a legendary abomination, it actually is an abomination. It takes forever to fucking kill them. Typo fix damaged legs or fix damaged or legs armor. There's like tons of just typos and stuff like that I had to go through. I'm sure there are more. Clipping issues on the final power node battle of Supply Depot addressed. It was possible to hang out above the map during a fucking power node battle. Not the case anymore. Should not be the case anymore, but who knows? People are really good at finding those hidey holes and those hiding spots and stuff like that. And have Sumo Wish in particular is pretty good about finding these. Mighty Warhammer Advancement Demon Lord requirement has been addressed. So the Mighty Warhammer Advancement, one of the requirements is that you have to kill a Demon Lord, and it simply didn't pop up properly in the advancement. It's just simple stuff. All random gem tiles now have proper collision to prevent players from escaping the map. So apparently, when I looked at the default collision settings and all of the blockers that I actually placed in the random gen tiles, uh, they were all set to overlap rather than actual invisible walls by default, and I didn't realize that that was the case. So now they're invisible walls. Now you can't jump out of the map anymore. A triple jump will not let you take weird shortcuts or something. Not that it really breaks the game or anything like that, but there is one possible scenario where players might try to jump off the edge and they'll just fall infinitely and they'll lose progress and stuff like that, which would be pretty shitty. All blaster type weapons projectile speed slightly reduced. Okay, I put it all the way up to 80, but now I reduced it to 60. Before it was actually 40, and that was way too slow. And 80 is, I noticed people are actually sniping with the blaster like it's a fucking sniper rifle. So that's a little too much. If you want a sniper rifle in your number 2 slot, your pistol slot, I want you to use the Magnum, and the blaster kind of be a medium range weapon. So all blasters are now rocking a 60 projectile speed instead. Status effects no longer cause dead bodies to freak out. This is a weird one. If a status effect is on a dead body, it'll actually it used to cause the bodies to go over and over again, and it made no sense. It was really weird. So now the status effect simply clears itself as soon as its host is dead. Ogrim Gore exit door now using correct graphic. Very slight thing. There's lots of small things like that. Adjusted all death triggers within random gen world to avoid having them intersect with neighboring tiles. So I was watching Sumo Wish play, and he's just doing his thing, and he's fighting like a regular soldier. And all of a sudden he just takes 8,000 damage, and he just immediately dies. He didn't even have a chance to hit the ground or anything. He just explodes in the air, and we're like, what the fuck? What the hell was that? Who killed him? So he's actually putting it up in slow motion, and we're trying to figure out what the fuck killed him. It turns out that it was all on me, and I accidentally killed Sumo Wish a couple of times now, because there's a death trigger that's on each of the random gen tiles, and they're supposed to be there just in case you fall through the world or some stupid shit like that. But what ended up happening was somehow some of them were actually sitting in awkward spots where they would actually, depending if the moon aligns with Venus, there'll actually be this death trigger just floating in the level. And I'm glad I found that. I'm glad that, well, I guess Sumo found it. That's for sure. Adjusted all death triggers. Let's see, I already said that one. Adjusted Hellbeast spawn location in the final warpath. Simple stuff. I just moved him over so he wasn't spawning into the ground. Revulsion difficulty level has been addressed. Okay, let me reword this. In the Revulsion difficulty, as soon as you clear all of the as soon as you're done clearing all of the insane difficulty content, there was a weird bug where it would suddenly jump up 10 levels for the first Revulsion difficulty. That wasn't intended, so that's fixed now. It's not supposed to jump up that much. It's supposed to do 5 levels. Each mission was 5 levels higher. Okay, roller bombs now trigger far more reliably. Roller bombs no longer bounce off dead enemies. Roller bombs' potency and damage are greatly increased. So if you want a pocket rocket launcher without actually having to hold a rocket launcher, try out the roller bombs. I buffed the shit out of them. It's pretty good. Bulwark shield no longer blocks enemy movement. I noticed that I didn't really mind too much that they were blocking enemy movement and they were being, the Bulwark shield was being used to great effect. But what ended up happening was I noticed that the AI was kind of bugging out and not really knowing what to do under certain circumstances. And it also, it may be a little bit too good if the enemies can't even get through the damn thing and you just block off an entire passage. It's pretty interesting. Maybe there'll be something else, like you can place a wall that nobody can shoot through or something like that. You know, maybe a future special ability that you can drop down that does something, a little bit differently might be cool. But for this particular one, it's just supposed to be a Reinhardt shield, and it's basically a Reinhardt shield. Gun turret SP cost increased slightly. Yeah, it's not much of a nerf. It's just a little bit more because the turret is pretty damn good, and I think that it's not at its fair market value when it comes to SP cost. Healing wave SP cost increased slightly because I went through and I've gone. That's not really because I'm trying to nerf healing wave. It's really more because I've buffed everything else, and I still want healing wave. I mean, I buffed everything else in different ways, and healing wave is now still the most potent heal if you stand within sight of the radius. I mean, but you gotta stand inside of a radius. Uh, it's a lot of just fudging and kind of moving around with numbers and stuff like that was necessary in order for me to do that. In order for me to kind of arrive at something that I feel is better, but hopefully, I mean, I can talk about this a little bit from now anyway. Hold on, I'll just go through this first. Berserker Rage SP cost increased slightly. Berserker Rage now regens a small amount of armor. Eagle Eye SP cost increased slightly. Eagle Eye now regens a small amount of armor. So these abilities like Runner's High, Eagle Eye, and Berserker actually regenerate your armor a little bit when you consume them, when you actually use them. So they serve sort of a dual purpose of, like, if you keep using them, you'll always have a little bit of armor. The reason why I am experimenting with this is that I want transmutation base potency has been slightly increased because I want the transmutation healing ability to be paired with them to great effect. So basically what transmutation does is it converts armor into health. But armor being such a finite resource, and there's not really that many ways to get armor without utilizing an actual booster, which a transmutation already is a booster. You'll have to have something else for it to depend on. So if you try something out like transmutation or vampirism, you know what I mean, or something like Berserkers, Eagle Eye, or Runner's High, or Vampirism. Those can be paired very well with transmutation for possibly breaking the game. Kind of. I'll have to see how it goes. I haven't really fully tested it yet. I may have made the game a lot easier. I don't know. It's probably not the worst thing in the world, but we'll see. Vampirism SP cost has been significantly reduced. It was way too expensive for the effect that it gives you. Vampirism now also regenerates armor. Vampirism is fucking awesome now. I mean, it was already pretty good, but now it's just insane. And not only that, you got to keep in mind too that vampirism, paired with something like super buff, which also increases your attack power. The higher your attack power, the more damage, the more it drains from the enemies. So it serves like a lot. So if you rely on like Berserker armor and super buff, well, something like vampirism just literally just plows through enemies' health and just gives you tons of armor and health every time you use it, which means that it's like maybe too good. I don't know. I'll have to see how things go when I watch people actually play. Biotic regeneration now also regenerates armor. Biotic regeneration cooldown increased to 20 seconds. It was 3. It was way too way too much of a strong heal. Healing wave. That's the purpose that healing wave is supposed to give you. Biotic regeneration gives you a 20-second or an 18-second regen that also now recovers your armor. So it's really just supposed to keep you alive. It's not supposed to like boost you to full health within 3 seconds. It was a little bit too much. Mini med kit, same thing as biotic regeneration, but is an objective downgrade. That's basically, it's just supposed to be the first healing item that you get in the game, but it's kind of just like, it's kind of much in the same situation. Now it also regenerates armor as well. Super buff now also grants a large armor buff. Um, Super buff attack power buff now lasts 30 seconds. It only lasts 10 before. Biotic cleanse now also regenerates armor. Um, Bionic Cleanse being pretty good as it was, but you have to, it's one of the abilities, you have to spam it fairly often, but it's a quick, strong boost. Damage Reflection now greatly buffs defense and regenerates armor as well. So now there's just armor coming out of everybody's freaking buttholes. There's armor everywhere now. This means that people who are already playing in easy mode are just going to be gods. But on regular mode, you're gonna have less situations where it's like you just get two shot by something because you're taking full damage because you couldn't find, you're scrounging for every single armor helmet that you could possibly find, and then one security guard zombie shows up and takes all of your stats away. So this is all of the stuff that went live. If you're watching this video, this is all the stuff that just went live, okay? But there's still some things that I need to get done. A lot of these are probably going to go live on Monday. If I can get more done, it'll happen pretty quickly. I'm going to do another pass at this one to make sure that it actually gets fixed. It may actually be fixed, but when I was playtesting the latest build, it seemed like whenever I saw a legendary monster, they were still spawning at half health. It's possible to get stuck in crouch mode I don't know, if you jump through hoops and like pirouette down the side of I don't know. We'll have to see. There's certain circumstances where it's possible, where if you aim down sight while jumping in the air, I don't know, something is going on there. I need to figure out what it is because it's pretty awkward when you get stuck in crouch mode. Force it so you have to click the buy button on vending machines to buy stuff. This will be really quick. I'll make sure I get that in there. Probably that'll definitely be there before Monday. Repairing stuff is broken. Advancements too. Body becomes gloves. There's a lot of weird stuff that I need to figure out with this. I was looking through the blueprints and everything like that, and I can't quite figure out exactly what's causing all this to break. Enhancing advancements are also not working correctly. Like you can enhance armor all you want, but I don't know. It just didn't do anything. Like it just didn't. It doesn't seem to be triggering the advancements. Oh yeah, and that reminds me. I reduced the cost of affixing armor. Oh. So it was super duper ultra expensive to affix armor. If it's a piece of legendary armor, you should be able to affix it, for a few 100,000 credits. But it was coming off of like 2 million or something like that. That's fixed, and for some reason just didn't get into the patch notes. Anyway, mission rewards could possibly be upped. Some of them also could be modified a bit because it doesn't really make very much sense. I noticed like Sumo Wish, gets up to the first mission and like one of the rewards is a rocket launcher. He's been using a real rocket launcher for damn near 100 levels, and now he sees that there's a blueprint that he already has that he can get. Stuff like that. Like I should probably just do a pass to to kind of like maybe add more interesting stuff to some slots or just remove them. Like if they don't make any sense at all, like giving you a rocket launcher blueprint, like at level 70, at level 80 or something, like doesn't make any sense. Power node bar does not go away if you leave the battle early. Yeah, simple stuff like that. Make it so you don't have to get advancements for other save games. This is actually a really big one, and it needs to happen right away. This will probably be active on Monday because it's going to be one of the main ones that I have to do. But right now, as you play, if you start a fresh character and you have nearly every advancement done, your fresh character will automatically have all of those advancements at the same time. I thought it was a cool idea, but in practice, it is a little weird. seeing somebody basically become a level 25 character before they leave the tutorial room, just because they've already played the game a lot. And also, too, I guess I can't really talk about it too much because this video is already too long, but I'm planning on adding a depraved character class. I had a depraved character class idea a while back. I took it out of the game to save time because it just wasn't necessary. But, if I add a hard mode, I don't want that hard mode to be, spoiled by giving you a bunch of free stuff as soon as you start. The depraved difficulty character class starts off with poor stats. Um, your quality setting, the quality value of items is actually a durability. So, like, as you use your guns, it can break. Um, Depraved is just like absolute fucking balls to the wall, fucking masochism mode, and there's just lots of stuff like that. Right out of the gates. Like maybe everything is always on revulsion difficulty, and who knows? Like I'll come up with some stuff and try to keep it within reason, but uh, it doesn't make very much sense for you to get advancements from other save games. It was brought up while I was in VR chat last night as well, and I'll I'm just taking feedback and stuff like that too. But there's a lot of reasons to take that feedback pretty seriously because a depraved class might be pretty interesting, believe it or not. Music resets randomly. I already know what's causing this. It's a sound channel overflow error. So what I might have to do is I just might have to make sure that the sound channels aren't getting uh, wrecked so hard by I guess I just got to reduce how many sounds before they start like how many sounds are overlapping and stuff like that. Simple DPRS reading. A lot of this is already stuff that I've talked about before. Yeah. Okay. So that's that. That's everything right there. That's pretty much everything for the patch notes. Hope you guys are enjoying playing the game and everything like that. There's definitely a lot more to talk about, but for now, this is good enough. Okay. Take it easy, guys.